Hello everyone. Today's chapter is photosynthesis. So let's see the topics which can be discussed under this chapter photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? The importance of it, the raw materials required and the pigments which are involved in the process of photosynthesis, stomatal opening and closing, the mechanism of the process of the photosynthesis and the factors which affect it. So let's get started. What is photosynthesis? The synthesis of carbohydrates by the green organs of the plants in the presence of sunlight from carbon dioxide and water, which is taken up from air and soil. It always takes place with the evolution of oxygen as a byproduct. It is sensitized photochemical oxidation and reduction mechanism between the water and carbon dioxide taking place at biological temperature. Robin and Kamen in 1941 confirmed that all the oxygen evolved in the process of the photosynthesis, it comes from the water and not from carbon dioxide. Now we are going to discuss about the importance of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the only process on the earth by which sun's energy is trapped by autotrophic organisms and is converted into food for all living organisms. This is the only method to manufacture food from inorganic raw materials that provides directly or indirectly the food to all the living organisms. Therefore, photosynthetic organisms are also termed as primary producers, whereas all other organisms are referred as consumers. This is the only natural process by which oxygen is liberated in the atmosphere to be used up for the respiration process. This process decreases the concentration of the carbon dioxide which is being added to the atmosphere by the process of respiration and combustion. Raising of photosynthesis capacity will increase the productivity of agricultural crops for the feeding the rising humans and the cattle population. The raw materials which are required for the process of the photosynthesis, the four important materials which are required for the process of photosynthesis, which are the first one is your carbon dioxide. It is the raw material for the formation of the glucose. The plants obtain carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through the stomata. The stomata, it opens or closes depending on the need of carbon dioxide by the plants. The second raw material is the water. It is the main process and the second material for the photosynthesis process there. And the plants, they get water from the soil by absorption. The third raw material is the radiant energy. The radiant energy is trapped from the solar energy, that is the sun, by the green color pigment called chlorophyll, which is present in the chloroplast. So the last raw material for the process of photosynthesis is chloroplast. Chloroplasts are the green colored plastids which are found in the green colored parts in the plants. In the leaves, they are mainly present in the mesophyll cells, which are located between the upper and the lower epidermis. There may be 50 lakh chloroplasts per square mm of the leaf surface. Now moving ahead, we are going to discuss about the pigments which are involved in the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthetic pigments have the ability to absorb the light at specific wavelengths. These can be separated through paper chromatography. The chromatogram of leaf pigment, it shows the presence of some of the pigments which are as follows. The first one is your chlorophyll, which is a highly complex organic substance. It is made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen and magnesium. There are 5 types of chlorophyll molecules, out of which commonly occurring and the most abundant are chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. About 250 molecules of the chlorophyll form 1 quantosomes. It is capable of trapping 1 quantum of the energy and converting into the chemical energy. This process is known as photochemical act. The leaf appears green due to the presence of the chlorophyll, which reflects away the green wavelength of the light spectrum, and it absorbs mainly the red and the blue wavelengths. The next pigment is your carotenoids. They absorb the light between the red and the blue region of the spectrum. In higher plants, they are red, yellow, and orange in color. Carotenoids are of two types. One is the carotenes and the another one is the xanthophylls. The carotenes are unsaturated hydrocarbons which are orange or red colored, while xanthophylls are yellow in color and are oxygen derivatives of carotenes. The third one is the pigment is your phycobilins. Phycobilins are the water soluble pigments, and they harvest the light energy and trap it to chlorophyll A. They transfer it to the chlorophyll A to be used in the photosynthesis, just like carotenoids. Therefore, they are also termed as accessory pigments. The structure of the stomata. So now we are going to discuss about the structure of the stomata, which is really very important for the process of the photosynthesis, because here only the chloroplast and the chlorophylls are present, due to which the process of photosynthesis takes place. So the stomata, singularly we call it as stoma, are microscopic pores surrounded by two specialized kidney-shaped in dicot leaves and dumbbell-shaped guard cells in monocot leaves. As shown in the picture also, you can see the guard cells which are present there, the bean-shaped or the dumbbell-shaped guard cells are present there. They are present in the epidermis of the leaves and young green stems. These stomata are chiefly concerned with the gases exchanged during the process of photosynthesis, respiration, and water loss through the process of transpiration. The guard cells surrounding a pore are highly specialized epidermal cells with chloroplast. Their walls are differentially thickened. The opposing inner walls of the guard cells are thickened crescently in the middle and are thus inelastic. The remaining walls are thin and elastic. The average number of stomata is about 300 per square mm of the leaf surface. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the mechanism of the stomata, the opening and the closing, how it takes place, and how the movement or the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide inside and outside the plant takes place. So we have to discuss about the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. Here we go. Leavitt in 1974 proposed the proton transport concept to explain the mechanism of opening and closing of stomata. According to this concept, the opening and closing of stomata takes place as a result of an active transport of potassium ions into the guard cells and out of them also. The adjacent epidermal cells act as an ion storage cells for the guard cells. During the daytime, the starch is converted into malic acid in the cytoplasm of the guard cells. The malic acid dissociates into hydrogen, that is your H plus ions, and malate ions. Then hydrogen H plus ions are given out of the guard cells, and potassium, that is HK plus ions, from the subsidiary cells enter into the guard cells. The intake of potassium K plus ions is balanced by intake of chloride, that is Cl minus ions. This raises the osmotic potential of the guard cells. The water from surrounding cells enter the guard cells by the process of end osmosis, and the guard cells become turgid. The outer thin walls are stretched and the inner thick walls are pulled apart, which results into the stomatal opening. At night, photosynthetic activity ceases, which results into the increase in the carbon dioxide concentration, and pH also becomes acidic, which is 5.0. In the presence of carbon dioxide, an inhibitor hormone named as abscisic acid, that is ABA, starts functioning and inhibits the uptake of potassium ions and chloride ions by changing the diffusion and permeability of the guard cells. Now, the potassium and the chloride ions move out of the subsidiary cells and the osmotic concentration of the guard cells also decreases. After this, the water moves out of the guard cells by the process of exosmosis and they become flaccid. Finally, the inner walls of the guard cells come in contact with each other and the stomata finally closes. So this was the whole process, the mechanism of opening and the closing of stomata. Now moving ahead, the next topic which we are going to discuss under the process, this chapter photosynthesis, is the mechanism of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is fundamentally an oxidation reduction process which involves water is oxidized to oxygen and carbon dioxide is reduced to carbohydrates. During the process, radiant energy of the sun is stored in the form of chemical energy in carbohydrates. The process of photosynthesis, it involves two distinct steps as shown here also. The first one is the light reaction and the next one is the dark reaction. So now I'm going to tell you what is light reaction and the dark reaction here. First, the light reaction. It occurs in the thylakoids of the chloroplast in the presence of the sunlight. Hence, its name is light reaction. It is mainly concerned with the formation of NADPH, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate hydroxide, which is a reducing power and ATP. These two compounds, NADPH and ATP, they constitute the assimilating power. One more end product is formed as a byproduct, that is the oxygen in the light reaction. Next one is the dark reaction. Here the carbon dioxide is reduced to the glucose by means of energy and the reducing power, which is the ATP and NADPH, which are the produced during the light reaction as informed. As in this phase, the light is not required. So therefore, it is termed as the dark reaction. This whole process, the dark reaction process, it occurs in the stroma of the chloroplast. Now we are going to discuss about the different steps which are involved in the light and the dark reaction mechanism of the photosynthesis. So the first, as informed that in the light reaction, one more end product as a byproduct is formed, that is the oxygen. So this oxygen formation, it involves certain steps. So we are going to discuss those certain steps which are involved for the oxygen formation. The first one is the excitation of the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll, on exposure to the sunlight, it absorbs the radiant energy as photon, and it becomes activated. This photon is the smallest unit of the light energy. The second step is photolysis of water. Splitting of water molecules into H plus and OH minus ions with the help of the light energy is termed as photolysis of water. Here the radiant energy from sunlight is absorbed by the chlorophyll and is transformed into chemical energy. Then this chemical energy is used to split the water molecules into H plus and OH minus. The third step is the production of the molecular oxygen. There, the OH minus produced as a result of photolysis of water are oxidized to water and oxygen. The oxygen as a whole is produced during the photosynthesis is formed from water molecules and not from carbon dioxide as informed in the topic what is photosynthesis there only. The fourth step is photophosphorylation. As shown here also, photophosphorylation is the next step here in the oxygen formation. It is the production of the energy-rich ATP molecules from ADP molecules with the help of the energy from electrons released during photolysis of water by adding one phosphate group, that is Pi, which is an inorganic phosphate. The last step which is required in the oxygen formation is the production of reducing agent. The photolysis of water produces H plus, which is immediately picked up by NADP, which is your nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate, which are activated by the electrons, and this results in the formation of a reducing power, that is NADPH. Now we are going to come on the next, that is your dark reaction here. So we are going to discuss about the dark reaction. What steps are involved in the dark reaction? Mainly in the dark reaction, which is also termed as your Bachmann's reaction, biosynthetic reaction, light independent phase. In this, the fixation of the carbon dioxide, or we can say the reduction of the carbon dioxide to glucose, is the step takes place here. As it was already informed earlier, in this process the carbon dioxide is reduced or fixed to the glucose, that is C6H12O6, with the help of H plus from NADPH, and energy used for the process is ATP, which is also produced during the light reaction. This NADPH and ATP, these two are formed, which are produced during the light reaction, as informed only. This whole process of synthesis, it occurs in number of steps. This dark reaction process here, it takes place in number of steps, each catalyzed by a specific enzyme. In this process, in this dark process here, the carbon dioxide, it enters into a cycle of reactions, starting with the ribulose biphosphate. Finally, at the end of the cycle, glucose is synthesized and the ribulose biphosphate is regenerated. As this cycle was discovered by Mellin Calvin and Andy Benson, hence it is also named as Calvin-Benson cycle. The dark reaction doesn't mean that it takes place at the night or in the darkness. It simply means that the dark reaction doesn't require the light energy. This light and the dark reactions, both these reactions, it occurs almost simultaneously. The time gap between the two is really less than 1,000th of a second. Now, coming on the last topic which can be discussed for the photosynthesis is the factors. This is really very important, that the factors which affect the process of photosynthesis. So here we have divided these factors into two parts, as your external factors and the internal factors. So one by one we are going to discuss about them. Under the external factors, the first one is your light. The radiant energy of the light is an important factor in three aspects, that is your intensity, quality and the duration. About 0.2 to 1% of the total solar radiation utilized in the photosynthesis. This photosynthesis is greatly influenced by the light quality. The process of the photosynthesis is directly proportional to the duration of the light. The next one is the carbon dioxide. If the light intensity is really good and the temperature is optimum, then the increase in the carbon dioxide concentration, it increases the rate of the photosynthesis also. The third is the temperature. Like all other physiological processes, this photosynthesis, it also needs a suitable temperature. In presence of the plenty of the light and carbon dioxide, photosynthesis increases with the rise in temperature till it becomes maximum. After that, there is a decrease or fall in the rate of the process. About 25 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade is the optimum temperature at which the photosynthesis is maximum. Though in certain desert plants like Optunia, photosynthesis takes place at as high as 55 degrees centigrade. This is the maximum temperature. The temperature at which the process just starts is the minimum temperature. For lichens, it is so low as minus 20 degrees centigrade, and for certain conifers, it is minus 35 degrees centigrade. The last topic of the external factors is the water. Under normal conditions, the water has no direct effect on the rate of the photosynthesis. But if water supply is really poor, then a decrease in the photosynthesis has been observed. So these were some of the external factors. Now moving ahead to the internal factors. Among the internal factors, the first one is the chlorophyll content of the leaves. Though the process in the presence of the chlorophyll is really essential for the process of photosynthesis, the rate of photosynthesis is not proportional to the quantity of chlorophyll present. It is because of the fact that chlorophyll merely act as a biocatalyst, and hence a small quantity is quite enough to maintain the large bulk of the reacting substances to take place. The next one is the protoplasmic factors. The plants which are transferred from the dark to the light reaction, they do not start photosynthesis immediately. Same in the case with very long leaves. It is due to some internal factors which are present in the protoplasm, the exact nature of which is not known to us, which is not cleared enough till now. The third point is accumulation of byproducts. The process of photosynthesis in the assimilatory cells is maintained as long as the concentration of the products formed is removed. The final product in the photosynthetic reaction is sugar, that is the glucose, and its accumulation in the cell slows down the process of photosynthesis. The fourth point is leaf anatomy, or we can say the internal structure of the leaf also. The thickness of the cuticle and the epidermis of the leaf, size and distribution of the intercellular spaces, distribution of the stomata and the development of the chlorenchyma and other tissues also affect the rate of photosynthesis. The fifth point in the internal factors is the age of the leaf. As a leaf develops, the rate of photosynthesis rises with the age till it is fully expanded. After that, the rate of photosynthesis begins to decline. As we can take the example of the human beings also, when the child is young enough, the energy, the enthusiasm is really very high and they are ready to do any work. They don't feel any problem or any difficulty in doing any work. But slowly, gradually, when the person's age develops, increases, the energy level, it starts declining. So same thing is this here also in the leaves also, that after certain age, it is fully expanded. After that, the rate of the photosynthesis begins to decline in the leaves also. This it is because the aging brings about the deactivation of the enzymes and degeneration of the chlorophyll in the leaves. The last point, that was the internal factors, is the hormones. Hormones like auxins, cytokinins, gibberellins stimulates the photosynthesis. The abscisic acid, that is ABA, it reduces the rate of photosynthesis due to the closure of the stomata. So now here are some of the questions which I have tried to just figure out from the material which is provided to you all. So you all can just go through these questions and test yourself. This thing I can say. So thank you so much for watching this video.